I'm using a 4-inch basket bottom, and I will be using a 3.5 millimeter hook to pull the yarn through the hole because the 6.5 is not large. I mean, it's too large for the hole. And then I will use the 6.5 to make the actual stitches. And t-shirt yarn. This t-shirt yarn is a little bit stretchier than normal t-shirt yarn, which I don't think is ideal for a basket, but I'm using it up to show this stitch. And I like to make my tail about 10 times the length of what the width of the basket bottom is. And I do this because I like to use the tail to close each round. But if you don't want to close the rounds with your tail, then you can just make a normal size tail and weave it in on your first row. So to cast onto the basket bottom, use your 3.5 and then use the 6.5 to complete the stitch. And for this first round of making our foundation, we're going to do 1 single crochet in the first hole, 1 single crochet in the second hole, and an increase stitch in the third hole, which is 2 single crochets. And then we will be repeating that pattern until you get to the end of the round. And if your hole count is different than the one that I have, you may need to adjust where your increased stitches are so that it's evenly spaced around. And the last stitch should be an increase stitch. And I'm going to use my tail to complete the stitch. So drop my working yarn, pick up the tail, do my yarn over and pull through for the completion of that stitch. And then go to the first stitch in the row or the round and go from behind and grab your tail and pull the tail through that stitch, through both loops. And then bring it back around to the last stitch and take your hook through the back, go through that back bump and through the back loop so that your hook is in the middle of the 2 loops from that stitch. Grab the tail, pull the tail through, and then with your working yarn and your tail, you need to pull both of those so that you can adjust the stitches so that all of the stitches on the top and the bottom are all the same size and line up with all the other stitches. And then for round 1, I'm going to go through the back loop only and through the back bump and make a single crochet, and do that for every stitch in the round. And going through that back bump, it's optional, but it really helps to make that first round kind of pull up the walls. But the most important thing that it does by going through that back bump is it keeps you from having a big gap at the bottom of your basket because the yarn doesn't pull as much when you're doing the stitches. And so the very bottom area of your basket will be nice and tight if you do this. And again, I'm going to use my tail to close the round. So before I do the final yarn over to complete the single crochet, I drop the working yarn and grab the tail. Go ahead and pull your walls up. If you do that, it helps you to close this round easier. For round 2, I don't know if this stitch actually has a name. I looked in all 3 of my crochet dictionary books and could not find the name of this stitch anywhere, although I see it in a lot of patterns, so it's pretty common. But it's worked a little bit like a linked single crochet, even though that's not what it is, because you're using 2 different rows. So to do it, you insert your hook into the row that you're on, yarn over, and pull through, and then immediately go down to the row below. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over and complete your stitch. And I've seen a pattern where you can also do this, making 2 rows of single crochets, or even 3 or 4. You can make as many rows of single crochets as you want, and then this sort of twist stitch will look different depending on how long it is. So we're only doing 1 row for this pattern, but it will have more of a long twist to it the more rows you drop down. And just complete this for the rest of the round. And that is all that you do. You just repeat round 1 and 2 until you get it as tall as you want it to be. add a slip stitch around the top. You can tell that the walls of this basket aren't very sturdy and strong like a lot of baskets that I make, and that's because this yarn is extra stretchy. So when you're picking your t-shirt yarn, if you don't want it to be a very flexible basket, then you need to pick a yarn that doesn't have a lot of stretch to it.